Can it, Maple? She's a friend. Why did I know that voice? Better question. Why did my head hurt so much? Plus, what are you going to do? Shoot her? Oh, right. That was Longbow. She's one of those things, Maple shouted back, making my head pound worse. I blinked, worried for a moment that I couldn't open my left eye as my right struggled to focus. I reached my hoof up to rub my open left eye, instead hoofing at the socket as the gears in my head were once again just a little too slow. Well, if it's not too much trouble, I just need to talk to Backlash. My focus on the bright source of the voice, resolving on the glowing form of Willow. She turned her gaze to me, frowning as I yawned and rolled on my back, pushing up against the floor and under my hooves, but not finding the strength to stand. Why did I feel so tired? Whoa there. Surger came over from somewhere. I just couldn't focus for some reason. You lost a lot of blood. Well, that's probably a good reason. The potions will take some time to help you make more, but you've got to take it easy for a few minutes. Thank you. I gave him a soft smile as I flopped back down. I'll just lay here for a bit then. Longbow trotted up to me slowly as my vision blurred again. I noticed she was wearing a torn-up white shirt. You look good. We should go out sometime. My eye refocused, revealing the shirt to be wrappings of bandages. I think she could see the concern on my face because she used her freakish strength to hold me down, using a single hoof to pin me. You're really strong. You know that? Oh, just shut up. She laughed softly, leaning forward. Even as tired as I was, the feeling of her kiss, it was just like that day. But for the first time since that day, it didn't bother me. I'd kept my promise to the old man, and Luna had no reason to interfere. As she stood back up, she cleared her throat. Willow is here because there's a problem in Futuria. I yawned, stretching out my hooves. Yeah, Alicorns. We know this. It is not that simple. Willow called over as she strode up. I wanted to, at least, see them one last time before I went, but the Alicorns were already there. Dozens of only the blue variety are, but they're in position around the town, invisible, and waiting. I've never seen so many gathered in one place. The goddess hasn't done anything like this before. Waiting? For what? Longbow was on the ball today. Come on, Gears, why are you slacking? My head thudded as I tried to force them to turn, remembering again that the blood loss was probably the reason. Stupid blood. I don't know. If I try to read them, they'll know that I'm there. Willow's voice snapped my attention back to her. I wanted to leave a note for them, but I wasn't sure if they would panic and force the goddess to attack. The gears in my head spun, trying to think of some way to use this pause to our advantage. We charge in, we die. We sneak in, we die. No matter what we do, she'll see us coming and we die. On top of that, if we wait too long, she might attack anyway, and we lose Futuria. What about a diversion? Longbow piped up happily. And that's my thinking mare for you. She's so smart. You could get her attention and lead them away. She'll have to see this kind of tactic coming. But, with what you can do, I'm sure she'll want you more than the town. That may work. You realize that after an hour or so, she'll give up trying to get after me, and just try to destroy the town. Willow brought up a good point. But an hour is long enough to get the ponies ready. I yawned, out shaking my head as I could slowly feel my body get stronger. Willow, wait till we're a few miles out. Then cause your diversion. If we can hold out until morning, then maybe some of the other rangers might have made it there. The others aren't coming. Maple called down from the ridgeline. With a threat of 42, All the paladins other than this squad have been recalled to defend HQ. We're on our own. Then, we'll make do. I tried to push myself back up, shakily standing as my head felt like it was going to explode. We can't afford to wait any longer. We have to try. I took a step forward, crying out as my leg gave out and dumped me back to the ground. I was hoisted up by Carlotta from behind, being thrown over her shoulder as she walked on her hind legs, giving me flashbacks to Zin. Longbow, can I suggest you drive? No way, Flab thanks. She drove last time you were out of it, so it's my turn. Carlotta called up, turning and walking towards where we had parked the Marauder. I felt a twinge of fear as we reached the top of the slope, afraid that my car wasn't going to be there again. But as if to show a small sign of balance, the universe saw fit to let me keep her. Wait, Carlotta, put me down for a moment. I tapped her on the back softly with my hooves, trying not to irritate the already bruised sections too much. She grumbled and let me down. Can you call Longbow over? I need to talk to her alone for a moment. Hey, Longbow, get over here. She shouted down the hill with a screeching yell, surging the pain from my headache as I did my best to cover my ears. Longbow bolted up the hill with heavy steps, not wasting any time to get to me. The silver armor was still emanating clicks and whirls as her magic locked the plates in places, having just been hastily put on. What is it? Is something wrong? She panted lightly as she looked me over. No, nothing's wrong. I just wanted to talk for a moment. I smiled to her before turning my gaze to the grumpy face of Carlotta. I believe I specified alone. And with that, Carlotta turned and stomped off to the car. Longbow, I need you to head back to Manhattan. You can coordinate with them for the attack on the bridge. I know Elder Strudel's tactics are simple, but she shouldn't have a problem planning the attack. She ran her hoof through my mane, sitting down next to me. Besides, I can do more good if I'm here to help you. I just think that heading back would be safer. I scratched my muzzle up as I went to correct myself. I mean, a safer bet. Longbow's gaze shifted sadly to the dirt. Is that what this is about? You think I'll end up like Brass? She shook her head and stomped her hooves unnervingly close to my head. I'm no stranger to combat. And right now, Futura needs our help. All of it that it can get. Is it that bad that I don't want you to die for me? I reached up and tried to brush her mane from her eyes, only to be stopped as she lightly batted my hoof away. For you? Backlash, do you even hear yourself? You aren't trying to protect Futuria for you. You and I both want to help them out because Willow asked. She crossed her hooves with a huff. Besides, I don't see you complaining about Skyline or Carlotta. She was right. Maybe I was being too selfish by trying to protect her. But why shouldn't I be? So far, I haven't gotten anything out of the last few weeks that I can claim has improved my life, other than her. Because I love you! Yes, I don't want Sky or Carlotta to die either, but I can't lose you. Not after Sprocket, not after Harmony and Brass. I pushed myself up, hooking my arms around her as she stood in silence. You're all that's keeping me from breaking down. Don't you think I feel the same way? She wrapped a power-armored hoof around my back. I don't want to lose you either. And that's why I have to go. She patted me slowly and sighed. Let's get going. We can do this together. With the fact that Carlotta had joined us in the Marauder, we had to kick Maple out to ride in the back frame. He said that he didn't mind, but I could tell that from the whimpering he made over the wind, he wasn't having the best of times. It probably also didn't help that Carlotta kept trying to ramp us off everything, even remotely close to a slope. In the hour it had taken us to drive, I had recovered from my blood loss. Restoration potions certainly were an amazing item. The bright lighting of Futuria was a beacon in the darkness. The tall stadium lighting of the Baltimore Arena that had been set along the domed roof of the old community center helped to invite travelers in, while the heavy 10-foot concrete wall reminded the rest of the wasteland that Futura was well defended. I uttered a small prayer to myself that the goddess had fallen for the trick and was gone, at least giving us a small window to prepare. That is, if I can convince every pony of what was coming. Carlotta thankfully dropped our speed as we approached the front gate. Several armed ponies trained weapons on us, spreading out around the Marauder as we came to a complete stop. I hoofed open the door I had been crammed against, getting out slowly. "What's your business here?" The stallion asking the question was not one that I recognized from my time here before. "Them armored folks ain't welcome inside." "My name's Backlash. Let me speak to Passwall. He knows me." I had really hoped that he'd be at the gate tonight, but I can chalk it up to abrupt timing. "I came to speak to Tiger Lily. The Rangers are with me. They won't cause a problem." "Passwall's dead." The stallion shifted his tone to one of disdain when he spoke. "Some idiot traitor brought in Killing Joke last month. What happened wasn't pretty." He looked over to the other guards, nodding to them. "Y'all stay right here. I'll get Tiger for you." He turned and cantered off through the guard hut, towards the community center. "You sure they'll even let us in?" Mabel shakily stepped back to the ground. Although I felt bad for having to stand on the back of the frame of the Marauder, it did help to keep his pompous attitude in check. "Just give it a moment." I sighed, motioning for him to get back onto the car. He groaned but reluctantly did as I asked. There was a buzzing noise from the gate. The whole thing shuddered and swung open as the motorized winch pulled it back. I got back in as well, as we were ushered through the gate, with just enough space for the Marauder to pass through before they closed it again. "What did I tell you?" I turned around and smiled through the rear window as Carlotta pulled up to the front of the community center. The large faded words, "The House of Tomorrow," were barely readable under the immense lights that beamed right away through the night. The street around us was completely bare tonight, and not even the bars were lively. Something just didn't seem quite right. We all piled out of the Marauder, eager to stretch our legs again after being cramped in there. "Well, well, we haven't seen you around these parts in a while." Tiger Lily spoke up as she trotted around the side of the building. I turned to face her with a smirk, looking her over as she stopped dead mid-step. "Though, maybe too long. The hell did you, and where can I get one?" "Trust me, you don't want to know." I looked up into the well-lit house. "Mind if we go inside to talk? Time is short, and what I have to tell you is of great importance." "Fine, but the goon squad stays out here." She rolled her eyes and sighed. "Your sister just stopped in a few moments ago, and woke me up. This shit better be big." I looked over to Longbow, who gave a nod. I trotted over to Lily, who opened the door and led me inside. The stark white of the hallway gleamed under the bright fluorescent lighting, still spotless after over a century. The whole interior of the house was like this, having been enchanted with some sort of protection spell that kept it clean. The walls of the hallway we walked down were filled with picture frames, each one holding a different schematic that showed off the features of the concept homes that made the main buildings of the settlement. The biggest draw of this place was the fact that each of the homes had been fit with their own self-sustaining spark reactors, and contained their own water tanks and integrated water talismans. Of course, when Tiger Lily and her company moved in, they knew it was too good to pass up and advertised it as a safe haven for all the wandering traders and merchants the wasteland had. On any given day, you could find anything you wanted here, provided you had the caps and knew your way around the Equestrian language. We turned and entered into what had originally been designed as a home office, but had since become the mayor's chambers. As soon as we walked in, Skyline got to her hooves and hugged me tightly. I could tell from her expression that she had noticed the bandages around my hoof, but she kept quiet as Tiger Lily sat behind the desk. "We have under an hour to prepare for Chira's defenses for a large-scale attack from Alacorns." I spit it all out, watching as my words slowly sunk in. She smiled, then let out a cackling laugh. "An hour?" Skyline yelled and jumped into the air, hovering as she drug her hooves down into her face. "How do you know?" Skyline's reaction cut off Lily's laughter, her expression even more confused. She studied her over, looking for the telltale traces of a lie. Willow shut up and warned us. I looked back across the desk, making sure she could see how serious we both were. She's acting as a distraction to buy us some time. I know this is a lot to ask, but I need you to get every pony you have that can fight. Get your big guns up, and get the others somewhere safe. Tiger Lily cupped her forehooves together as she sat back, contemplating for a moment before giving us an answer. How do I know this Willow is giving accurate information? Because she's your Willow. I sat down and shook my head softly. Will-O-Wisp didn't die. She became an alicorn. Lily turned almost as pale as Willow looked, leaning forward slowly. I could see the flood of emotions wash over her, ending as she sneered in rage. Get out! She pointed her hoof to the door. I don't know who you paid for that information, but you can't bring up my past and assume I'll do as you say. Look at me when I say this. She sent me. I braced myself against her desk. You want proof? I only need one word. She glared at me, leaning forward and slowly reaching her forehoof to the gun she had propped against the desk. Mud. Her hoof dropped as she stared at me. You. No pony knows that name. She collapsed back onto her seat. But how do you know? Look, Lily, I'm telling the truth. She's an alicorn, and she's buying us an hour. She's buying you an hour. I relaxed as well, taking a step back to let it all soak in. We need to get ready. How many can you get us to fight with? What? She sounded so lost in her thoughts. I wish I had more time to tell her, or better yet, give Willow a chance to come here with us. But we were running out of time. She shook her head and stood up, albeit shakily. The guards out front are all I've got. You might find some ponies in the bar, but other than that, it's just us. She walked around her desk to the door, motioning for us to go with her. What do you mean? You've got 30-plus ponies always on guard around here. Skyline remarked as we trotted out the door. Yes, normally. But ever since the raider and gang attacks have targeted merchants, most of them have left for more stable and less dangerous jobs. The ones who stayed here are the ones that have no other employment lined up. She forcefully pushed open the door, back to outside, looking around before spotting the gate guards lazily lazing about in their hut. Check out the Gilded Gecko. It's your best bet for any pony you can get to fight. I nodded and spun around to go tell the others, but found myself smashed right into Carlotta's chest. Where are you going? Bar's over there, she remarked calmly as I took a step back. No time for you blab to your mare friend. Longbow can handle the other tin cans. Let's go. Not having the grouse to argue didn't mean I didn't want to, but she was right. We need help more than I need to talk to Longbow, so off we walked, heading for a large patchwork, sheet metal shack that sat next to a brothel. I don't care who's in there, be it slavers, gangsters, mercenaries, or hell, I'd even take a few Detrot Deadmare if they happen to be in town. But, as per the norm, when I pushed open the door, I was severely disappointed at the universe decided to balance out 42 not taking my car with this. There was a single drunk stallion sitting with his face down at the bar. Really? One? And that's all there is? I shook my head as we approached him. Guess you'll have to do. I knocked the beer that he had out of his hoof and waited for him to sit up. Sober up quick. You're hired. He curled his other, bandaged fetlock around a shot glass, shooting the brown liquid down before letting out a loud belch. Hey, hold up just 1 minute, hotshot. I don't know who you think you are, but I count at least five and a half other stallions, and only 3 mares, if you want to measure it that way. Thankfully, he wasn't as drunk as I'd first assumed. But as I leaned closer, I could smell the thick stink of it on his reinforced leather coat. That's 'cause 3's the most I ever want to handle at once, if you know what I'm saying. Dear Celestia, just shut up and come with me. I used my hoof to attempt to waft away the stench, but I found it much easier to take a step back. Nope, I ain't budging until we discuss terms of payment. And I only discuss payment with some pony else is buying me a drink. He smiled at me with his eyes half-lidded and tapped at the bar. You get paid if we survive. We can come to an agreement then. I stepped around him and slid the glass away, shooing off the bar pony, who looked like he was just getting ready to close up. I looked over to him before he went back to the kitchen. Hey, barkeep, Lily wants to see you. If he can fight, we need him as well, but Lily can deal with talking him into it. The foul-smelling merc groaned as he got up off his stool, closing his eyes and wobbling for a moment. You ain't no fun at all. You know that, mister? He opened his eyes, looking past me for a moment, the red form of skyline reflecting in his goggle lenses. Just so you know, I'm flexible when it comes to compensation. He pushed past me, a walking tour in what was about to be his biggest mistake of his night. And hot stuff. Just so you know, I'm just plain as flexible as you need me to be. Without a moment's hesitation, yet with the obviousness of a freight train, Carlotta stepped in. Let's test that theory. She swept out a rear hoof from under him, grabbing his bandaged forehoof and twisting it around to his back, before pressing him against the table next to her. He struggled for a moment before Carlotta twerked his hoof to elicit a whine from him. I'd have to remember to never piss her off that badly. The merc laughed. Oh, I love it when it's rough. Not normally one for grifts, but I guess you could spice things up. His drunken words were hard to read, but he didn't sound afraid of her in the least. How about we make it a threesome? Carlotta grabbed his mane with her talons and slammed his head against the table. A line of blood running down from the end of his muzzle was down to the wooden table. Carlotta, stop! I ordered as she pulled his head back, answering my order by slamming him down again. Carlotta, we need him alive. Please. I won't kill him, Backlash. I'm just... She slammed him down one last time before letting his mane go, teaching him his place. He's just a waste of our time. The blood matted the fur on his muzzle as he coughed a few times and slid to the floor in a heap. He let out another laugh as he rose from his hooves, quick to recover. Normally, I'd just say fuck you. But you know what? This job is going to cost you. Big time. He wiped his muzzle with his forehoof, turning the yellow-stained wrappings around it crimson. You want me to help you? You've got it. But I'm getting whatever I want at the end of this job. He turned to give Carlotta his biggest grin. Even if it's night with your sexy Pegasus friend. Do we have a deal? Fine, I growled out. Carlotta grabbed me by my barding and pushed me back against the bar. Backlash! The fuck are you doing? She was furious, and rightly so. She knows that I'd never sell out my own sister, but she was too angry right now to be rational. You don't get to give Skyline away. And you don't get to ignore my orders, I barked back. I asked you to stop, not slam his face into a table, not to teach him a lesson. She let go of me with nothing more than a grunt. I'm the contract holder, so you get your fucking head on straight. I turned to the asshole I just hired, watching as his grin dropped to the floor. You will not be touching my fucking sister. Period. Anything else in the wasteland is yours. But keep your hooves off my family. Goddesses, I hate the dramatic ones. He huffed and trotted over to the entrance, kicking open a trunk and hoofing it out a fairly pristine-looking ISF-60 machine gun. The saddle he wore didn't have the mounting for it. Instead, it held 4 boxes of ammunition, that ran into a feed chute he hooked to the side of the gun. So, what's the job? In 45 minutes, this place is going to become a war zone. The job only has 2 requirements. I pushed past Carlotta and steered my gaze away from Skyline as I walked up to him. Kill alicorns and don't die. This is my personal workshop. If you think you can throw something together in the next half hour, feel free to do so. The basement of the House of Tomorrow was a large circular round area. In the center were several tables covered with assorted Arcanotech items. Most of the walls were a mix of parts, lockers, storage bins, and workbenches, with the only clear section of it devoted to the house's spark reactor and water tank. Don't worry about using any parts you find. If you are sure it'll help, then we need whatever advantage it'll provide. I'm going to see if I can go get the main cannon working. The hydraulics take a bit to warm up, but she should shoot true. Thanks again. I followed her down, stopping as she flipped up a section of the carpet to reveal a pony-sized floor safe. What do you got in there? I averted my eyes as she hoofed the combination into the keypad, only turning back when I heard the screech of the door give as she pulled it up. Just some souvenirs I got from a ministry bunker, at the foot of Canterlot Mountain. She leaned into the safe, buttoning down the straps of a battle saddle and dragging it out. The threat of the alicorns in the earlier encounter with 42 were gone, as I glared at one of the weapons on it. The hell! I shouted, startling Lily to dropping the saddle and to go stumbling back into one of her workbenches. I trot up and looked over the shredder, remarking to myself on how I had thought it would be bigger. I grabbed the plans for this thing when I was in East Orchard. Goddesses, it sure is something. Yeah, my something. She pushed herself up and grabbed the saddle with her hoof. Feel free to take any of the other weapons in here. This one's mine. She unhooked the belt-fed shotgun from the other side of the harness, dropping it to the floor. Pushing past me, she reached a hoof in and fumbled at a bright white bucket with a blue stripe along the rim. Damn it, I can never get the handle. As she spun the bucket, I realized that the handle was just like the party cannon. You've got to be shitting me. I forcefully pushed it out of the way, knowing it was rude, but also knowing that she wouldn't care. The familiar suction of it against my hoof was something that actually helped me relax a bit. I pushed it up as my EFS recognized it as the base cannon. How'd you do that? Lily was entranced on my hoof, looking around it for how it worked. Because Pinkie Pie, I replied, setting it down in front of her, looking into her eyes as they reflected a small amount of fear when she looked at me. You're the one who opened the bunker in Manhattan. She shook her head in disbelief. This is unbelievable. You're the one the mayor was after all along. She pulled the cannon close to her, breaking eye contact and attaching it to her saddle. I'll leave you be. She slung the saddle to her back and left promptly, leaving me listening to the hum of the reactor. Even here, my failure to stop 42 has had an impact. It didn't quite hit me how far I had gotten until she looked at me that way. I could tell 42's wrath had cost her a lot, not just in caps, but in friends. The traitors that had been hunted down were my fault, and I'm sure they would alienate me for the rest of my life in the wasteland. But I deserved it. I got to my hooves and looked back over the few weapons on the wall, finally deciding to use one of the sleek-looking ISF 128 miniguns. They were quite rare in the wasteland, being as they were the last model to come out before the end of the world. They utilized a high-speed motor and a low-torque transmission to keep the 6 barrels turning at a blisteringly fast rate. But the issue was that it took 3 seconds to get up to speed. Rushing through the 30 minutes we had, I removed 3 of the minigun's barrels and dropped the high-speed motor in favor of a lighter-weight, slower one. I also changed up the gear ratio, adjusting it for higher torque to spin the new setup to its target RPM near instantly. though the extra draw meant I had to attach a spark battery to the motor, but it should last for the fight. Well, I hope it does. With no time to test it, I secured my new rig to a battle saddle and strapped it to myself. I checked that the ammo can and feed belt were secure, biting down on the bit and testing the auxiliary trigger. The barrel spun up within the blink of my eye, whining to a stop as I released it. With no formal training and no real combat experience for something like this, I was finally ready. As I climbed the stairs, it hit me just how much this whole rig weighed. I hadn't had an issue with holding still, but there was no way I'd be able to maneuver very well out there. No wonder I only ever see steel rangers with these things. I trot through the living room, glancing back out at the back porch, to see Frosted Cakes tinkering with a large cannon that Lily had mentioned. If it wasn't running yet, we had a problem. As I hoofed open the sliding glass door and exited, I noticed that it was a standard 8.8 field gun, with an auto-fire enchantment on it, bringing back the thought of when I got my cutie mark. What seems to be the problem? I asked abruptly, startling Frosty into banging her helmet on the other side of the gun. Oh, sorry. Didn't mean to startle you. I walked around the gun slowly, looking it over. It's fine. I just can't figure out why the damn jack screw won't depress the gun. She kicked the gun with her forehoof, letting a sigh escape through the speaker. These models sometimes had a manual disconnect under the breech. Try looking there. I trot back up to the fuse box to do a double check that she hadn't missed a bad fuse instead. She scooted around to under the end of the gun, running her hoof along it until there was a soft click. There. Now we just need to fire it up. I flipped the master circuit out of its lockout setting and into the on position, the gears in my head throwing out something that I should have seen coming. Hell, I made the exact same mistake when I got my cutie mark. No, wait! Her warning was wasted when the auto-firing enchantment powered up with the locked breech, the cannon firing off its own shell into the night sky with a thunderous crack. The recoil buffers stopped the gun from smashing Frosty's head in, but the shell ejected out and slapped her instead. The dent in the side of her helmet told me that most likely hadn't caved her skull in, but I assumed she was out cold by the way she slumped and lay still. And that was when all hell broke loose.